Yo, what's up? You're back in today, the final video predicting an individual NFL wildcard game. We're doing the Minnesota Vikings, number 5 seed, heading to Los Angeles to play the NFC West winners, the Los Angeles Rams, the 4 seed. Now, the way the Minnesota Vikings just looked in Week 18 against the Detroit Lions was very, very bad. Atrocious, you might even say. They got decimated, dominated, all of the above. They looked very, very bad. Is there a chance in heck that the Vikings can pull off a road victory now, heading to play the Los Angeles Rams? Well, that's the question we're going to be breaking down today, boys. In fact, we're going to be looking at the betting market, each team's path to this game. So smash the like and subscribe button, and let's break everything down. They just lost 31-9 to the Detroit Lions, and they barely beat the last couple of teams they played. They barely beat the Seahawks, 3-point game. They barely beat the Packers, 2-point game, and they lose to the Lions by 22 on the road. Jahmyr Gibbs, 4 rushing touchdowns, and this Vikings defense is going to need to find their identity if they want a chance to contain Matthew Stafford. The good news for Minnesota is that Minnesota did pressure Jared Goff quite a bit. They got a lot of sacks on Jared Goff. They got a good amount of defensive pressure on him. The reason I say this, Matthew Stafford, he is very, very good at quarterback. He will pick you apart if he is, sitting back there with enough time in the pocket. If the Vikings can keep that pressure on Matthew Stafford, I think he's not going to respond as well as Jared Goff did, especially because the Lions' O-line is definitely better than the Rams' offensive line. So keeping that pressure is going to be something important for the Rams to be doing. Now, I said I would mention the betting market. Well, the betting market has the over-under at 47.5. A bit higher than most of the other wildcard games for this slate of 6 games. But the Vikings are 2.5-point road favorites over the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. I'm happy that this is a Monday Night Football game. Seems like a good game to be Monday Night Football. Vikings, 2.5-point favorites. Okay, let's break down some very important information. The first thing, we're going to save this for a second, but just so that you all know, the Vikings played the Rams, this exact game, in Los Angeles already this season, October 24th, and they lost 30-20. The Rams won at home. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and break down the Vikings season now. So if I can actually click in here, I'm looking at the Vikings. Obviously, we just talked about they got destroyed by the Lions, beat the Packers, beat the Seahawks, beat the Bears, beat the Falcons, beat the Cardinals, beat the Bears, beat the Titans, beat the Jaguars, beat the Colts. The last loss they had, boys, I'm counting it up, 3, 6, 9. So they were on a 9-game winning streak before losing to the Lions. The last loss before the Lions was the Los Angeles Rams. They got swept by the Lions this year. They lost to the Rams. And then their only other loss was nobody. Those were the 3 losses that this very high win team, 14-win team. This 14-3 team lost to the Lions twice and the Rams once. Very interesting to note. So this team is a winning team for sure. Compare it to the Los Angeles Rams, who are 10-7. Now, if I go ahead and look at the Rams schedule, right? The Rams had a pretty tough schedule this year, especially being in a conference that was almost up for grabs. At the beginning of the season, nobody would have predicted, all right, the 49ers are going to be trash this year. That was tough to predict. And the 49ers weren't trash. They just, definitely disappointed. A lot of injuries to Debo, CMC. The CMC injury was brutal. But the Rams lost to the Lions to start the season on the road. It was a close game. They got dominated by the Cardinals in Arizona. And then they were a lot of one-possession wins or losses for this Los Angeles Rams team. In fact, almost every game I'm looking at right now is one possession. They lost to the Eagles by 17. They beat the Bills 44-42 as of recent. So if I'm looking at things recently, man, the Rams beat the Bills 44-42 December 8th. They beat the 49ers in a weather affair 12-6. Beat the Jets 19-9 on the road. Beat the Cardinals 13-9 at home. And then, obviously, with the second strings in, still almost beat the Seattle Seahawks. The Vikings being 2.5-point road favorites is very interesting. Now, 14-3 versus 10-7 makes sense, I guess, right? Like, the Vikings do look good. And listen, I'm all for a Justin Jefferson revenge game. Number 18, Jefferson versus number 17, Nakua. Jefferson had 9 targets and only 3 catches on the Vikings game against the Lions. It's going to be a revenge game. Sam Darnold is going to look good. He is going to show up as Scam Darnold rather than the ghost-fearing Sam Darnold of the New York Jets days. You know what's very interesting? I said we would save it, and we're going to save it. So that game that was 30-20, Thursday Night Football at the Rams' house, Rams win. That was Puka Nacua. It was his first game back from his injury, a long injury absence. I think it was a PCL sprain. You know how I remember this? Because he's on my fantasy team, and I benched him because, he'll be limited. He's going to have a limited snap count. And Puka Nacua did have a limited snap count against the Vikings. Yet he had 7 catches for 106 yards. He dominated that game, and he barely even played, a good amount of the snaps. So Puka Nacua is definitely going to be somebody the Vikings need to focus on. He had 7 catches for 106 yards on a limited snap share in his first game back from injury. Jefferson also is someone the Rams need to stop. He had 8 catches for 115 yards that game. So it was really the Jefferson and Nacua show the first time around. Kyren Williams had 97 rushing yards. So, the Vikings defense got gashed by Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Stafford had 4 touchdowns. Sam Darnold only threw for 2. And that's why, boys, my prediction. Where are the dogs at? Give me the underdogs. Rams at home. LA Rams move on to the divisional round. That's the prediction. It's a bold take, boys, but I'm rolling with Puka Nacua and Stafford. Stafford, he's a vet. Give me Stafford and the Rams.